In 1945, 85% of Warsaw's historic center was nothing but a pile of bricks and dust. Today, you're looking at a city that shouldn't exist, rebuilt so perfectly from old paintings that it earned a spot on the UNESCO World Heritage List. It is a city that refused to die, and honestly, standing here in the middle of the market square, you'd never guess that every single one of these colorful buildings is technically younger than your grandparents. We're going on a journey across a country that's been wiped off the map, survived the unthinkable, and somehow came out the other side as one of the most vibrant, high-energy places in Europe. We're going from the neon-soaked streets of Warsaw to the hidden salt cathedrals buried 300 feet underground, and finally, to the winter capital in the Jagged Tatra Mountains. You're going to see why Poland is currently the fastest-growing destination on the continent and how to navigate it like someone who actually lives here, not just a tourist passing through. If you skip ahead, you'll miss the Gnome City, a place where 600 tiny statues hide a secret history of political rebellion that helped topple a regime. Welcome back to AI Clever Spaces. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on those notifications, because what you're about to see is going to completely change the way you look at this part of the world. The camera pans across the Vistula River at Blue Hour. The Warsaw skyline is a wild mix of Stalinist architecture and futuristic glass skyscrapers glowing in the dark. It's a strange, beautiful sight. You hear the faint sound of a street musician playing Chopin in the distance, and the air is crisp, carrying that sweet, unmistakable smell of toasted waffles, or gofry, as the locals call them. Poland is the bridge between Western and Eastern Europe. It's a country that was wiped off the map for 123 years. Think about that. For over a century, Poland didn't exist officially. It was carved up by its neighbors and vanished from every atlas. Yet, the language, the culture, and the spirit stayed alive in the hearts of the people. It survived the worst of World War II and then spent decades shaking off the weight of communism, which only ended about 30 years ago. Now it's a high-tech powerhouse that somehow kept its medieval charm and its grandma's kitchen hospitality. Let's talk about Warsaw first. People call it the Phoenix City, and for good reason. When the war ended, the city was a graveyard of stone. But the people of Warsaw did something crazy. They used 18th century paintings of the city scenery by an Italian artist named Canaletto to rebuild the old town brick by brick. They matched the cracks in the walls, the shape of the windows, and the colors of the facades. It's a fake old town that feels more real than anything else because of the sheer will it took to put it back together. Walking through the Stare Miasto, or Old Town, you see the Royal Castle. It looks ancient, but it was finished in the 1980s. The citizens literally donated their own money and time to make sure their history wasn't lost. They held fundraisers, people gave their life savings, and craftsmen worked for years to recreate the intricate woodwork and gold leaf interiors. But Warsaw isn't just about the past. Just a few blocks away from those cobblestone streets, you'll find the Palace of Culture and Science. It's this massive, imposing building that was a gift from Stalin back in the 50s. For a long time, people hated it because it reminded them of Soviet occupation. There were even talks about tearing it down. But now, it's part of the furniture. It's surrounded by sleek glass towers like the Warsaw Tower, which is now the tallest building in the European Union. That's Warsaw in a nutshell. One foot in a very heavy history and the other stepping firmly into the future. If you head down to the Vistula River boulevards on a summer night, you'll see thousands of people hanging out, drinking coffee, and enjoying the life they've built. There are sand beaches right in the middle of the city, floating bars, and music venues that stay open until the sun comes up. It's energetic, it's loud, and it's completely alive. But as impressive as the capital is, the real soul of Poland is hidden 3 hours south, in a city that stayed completely untouched by the war. We're heading to Krakow. If Warsaw is the brain of Poland, Krakow is definitely the heart. While Warsaw was being leveled, Krakow somehow survived with its medieval buildings intact. This was the royal capital for centuries, and you can feel that weight the moment you step into the main market square, or Rynek Główny. It is the largest medieval square in Europe, and it is massive. You've got the Cloth Hall sitting right in the middle, where merchants have been selling silk and spices for 700 years. Today, you're more likely to find amber jewelry, lace, and wooden carvings, but the vibe hasn't changed all that much. The sound of horse hooves on the pavement and the smell of roasting nuts fills the air. Every hour, something happens that stops everyone in their tracks. A golden trumpet pokes out of the top window of St. Mary's Basilica and a melody plays out over the square, but it always stops abruptly, right in the middle of a note. It's called the Hejnau Mariaki. Local legend says that back in the 13th century, a sentry saw the Mongol army approaching and blew his trumpet to warn the city. He was shot in the throat by an arrow mid-note, and the city has played the tune exactly that way ever since to honor him. It's those little things that make Krakow feel like a fairy tale. You've also got Wawel Castle perched on a hill overlooking the river. Underneath that castle is a cave called the Dragon's Den. Legend says a dragon used to live there and eat the local sheep until a clever cobbler tricked it into eating a sulfur-filled lamb. There's even a bronze statue of the dragon outside that breathes real fire every few minutes. People gather around it, waiting for that burst of flame, and it's a reminder that in Poland, history and myth are always tangled up together. If you're already adding Poland to your bucket list after seeing how beautiful Krakow is, hit that subscribe button right now. We're uncovering spots like this every single week, and you don't want to miss the hidden gems we've got lined up. Krakow also has a cooler, edgier side in the district of Kazimierz. This was the Jewish quarter for centuries, and after being abandoned for a long time, it's become the trendiest spot in the city. It's full of old synagogues, street art, and some of the best nightlife in the country. The courtyards are filled with fairy lights and mismatched furniture, and every corner has a story to tell. It's also where you'll find the best zapiekanka in Poland. Think of it like a giant open-faced pizza baguette covered in sautéed mushrooms and melted cheese, drizzled with spicy ketchup. It's the ultimate street food, and the best place to get it is at the Plaknawi market in the center of the district. You'll see lines of people waiting at the little windows, even at 3 in the morning. Wait till you see what's happening underneath the ground, though. We're talking about an entire cathedral carved out of salt. But before we go underground, we have to talk about the fuel that keeps this country running. We need to talk about the food. Polish food gets a bad reputation for being heavy or bland, but that's just wrong. It's comfort food on steroids. If you want the real experience, you have to go to a bar Malexny or a milk bar. These are government-subsidized cafeterias that started during the communist era, so workers could get a cheap, nutritious meal. They're still around today, and they're amazing. You walk in, grab a tray, and choose from a menu written on a chalkboard. You can get a plate of pierogi, a bowl of beet soup called borscht, and a glass of compote for about $5. The ladies working behind the counter usually don't speak much English, and they might give you a look that reminds you of a strict aunt. But the food is like a hug from the inside. Pierogi are the stars here. They're dumplings, filled with anything you can think of. Potato and cheese, called ruski, minced meat, sauerkraut and mushrooms, or even sweet blueberries and cream. Each one is handmade, pinched at the edges, and boiled to perfection. Then there's bigos, which is a hunter's stew made with sauerkraut, various meats, and spices. It's the kind of food that's been simmering for days, getting better with every hour. You also have to try żurek, a sour rye soup served with an egg and sausage, often inside a bowl made of bread. Are you a pierogi fan, or is it just me? Drop your favorite filling in the comments. I'm a potato and cheese guy myself, but I've been told the meat ones are the real deal. Let's see who wins. The hospitality here is something else too. There's an old Polish saying, "Gość w dom, Bóg w dom," which means a guest in the house is God in the house. If you get invited to a Polish home, don't plan on eating for the rest of the week. They will keep bringing out plates of food, pickles, sausages, soups, cakes, until you literally can't move. It's not just about the calories. It's about making sure you feel welcome in a country that has known what it's like to have nothing. It's a deep-seated cultural pride in being a good host. They even have a tradition of leaving an extra empty plate at the Christmas table just in case a weary traveler knocks on the door. Now, let's head about 20 minutes outside of Krakow to a place that sounds like something out of a fantasy novel. The Wieliczka Salt Mine. You start by walking down a wooden staircase that feels like it's never going to end. 800 steps down into the earth. By the time you reach the bottom, you're 327 meters underground. The air down here is cool and salty, and it's actually supposed to be really good for your lungs. People actually come here for health retreats because the air is so pure and free of allergens. But the air isn't why most people come here. They come for the carvings. For hundreds of years, the miners here spent their free time carving statues and chapels out of the gray rock salt. The crowning jewel is the Chapel of St. Kinga. It is a massive underground cathedral where everything, and I mean everything, is made of salt. The floor tiles are salt. The altars are salt. Even the massive chandeliers hanging from the ceiling are made of salt crystals that look like expensive glass. It took 3 men over 70 years to finish this one room. Standing in the middle of it, you realize that people have been working in these dark tunnels for over 700 years. There are underground lakes that look like liquid emeralds, and the walls are covered in salt formations that look like cauliflower. It's one of those places that makes you feel very small, but also very impressed by what humans can do when they're stuck in a dark hole for a long time. You can even lick the walls if you want to prove it's real, though the guides might give you a funny look. The food and the mines are incredible, but to see where the locals go to escape it all, we have to head south to the Polish Alps, the Tatra Mountains. The gateway to these mountains is a town called Zakopane. It's famous for its unique wooden architecture, steep roofs, and intricate carvings designed to handle the heavy snow. The people who live here are called the Goral, or the Highlanders. They have their own distinct culture, their own dialect of Polish, and a fierce sense of independence. They're known for being tough, hard-working, and incredibly musical. You'll hear their fiddles playing in almost every restaurant in town, often accompanied by traditional dancing and singing that sounds like nothing else in the world. While you're here, you have to try Ossipek. This is a smoked sheep's cheese that's only made in this region by specific shepherds in mountain huts called Baykoki. It is pressed into beautiful wooden molds that give it a distinct shape and pattern, then smoked over a fire. The best way to eat it is grilled over a flame and served with a dollop of tart cranberry jam. It's salty, smoky, and slightly chewy. Walking through the mountains here feels like stepping into a folklore storybook. If you're feeling adventurous, you can hike up to Morskie Oko, which means the Eye of the Sea. It's a crystal-clear lake tucked between jagged granite peaks. The hike is long, and in the summer, it's packed with people. But once you see that water reflecting the mountains, you understand why the Poles are so proud of this place. The view is actually terrifyingly beautiful when the mist rolls in over the peaks, turning the whole scene into a moody gray masterpiece. But Poland isn't just mountains and old cities. We have to head west to a place that feels completely different, Wrocław. This city is built on a series of islands on the Oder River, connected by over 100 bridges. It's often called the Venice of Poland, but what really makes Wrocław special are the gnomes, or krasnale. Scattered all over the city are these tiny bronze statues, barely a foot tall. There are over 600 of them now. There's a gnome sleeping in a tiny bed, a gnome riding a motorbike, and even a gnome using a tiny ATM. Most tourists think they're just cute decorations for kids, but they actually have a very serious history. Back in the 1980s, during the communist era, a protest group called the Orange Alternative started painting gnomes on walls where the police had covered up anti-government slogans. It was a way of using humor and absurdity to fight back against a regime that took itself too seriously. You couldn't get arrested just for painting a gnome, right? It made the authorities look ridiculous. Eventually, the gnomes became a symbol of the revolution. When Poland became free, the city started putting up these bronze statues to remember that spirit. Finding them becomes an addiction once you start. You'll find yourself looking under benches, behind lampposts, and on windowsills just to see what the gnomes are up to. It turns the whole city into a giant scavenger hunt. Before we finish, there's one more city on the Baltic coast that looks more like Amsterdam than Poland, and it's where a revolution actually started. That city is Gdansk. It's a port city with a history that is as complicated as it gets. Because of its location, it's been fought over for centuries, changing hands between Germans and Poles many times. In fact, the first shots of World War II were fired right here at Westerplatte. But Gdansk is also the birthplace of Solidarity, the trade union led by Lech Wałęsa that eventually led to the fall of communism in Poland and across Eastern Europe. You can visit the shipyards where it all began and see the massive monuments dedicated to the fallen workers. The architecture here is stunning. The long market is lined with tall, narrow houses that look like they belong in the Netherlands. That's because Gdansk was a wealthy trading hub that attracted merchants from all over Europe. You've got the crane, a massive wooden structure from the 15th century that was used to load cargo onto ships. It's the largest of its kind in the world and a marvel of medieval engineering. And if you're looking for amber, this is the place. The Baltic Sea is famous for it, and the shops in Gdansk are filled with everything from simple necklaces to massive glowing sculptures made of fossilized resin. They call it Baltic gold, and you can even find pieces with prehistoric insects trapped inside. We've covered a lot of ground, from the rebuilt streets of Warsaw to the salt cathedrals and the mountain peaks. We've got one more stop that most people skip, and it's the most important one. If you've enjoyed the journey so far, give that like button a tap. It really helps us tell more stories like this and keeps the channel growing. The most powerful moment in any trip to Poland isn't a beautiful view or a delicious meal. It's a quiet, respectful visit to the memorial at Auschwitz-Birkenau. We have to pivot here from the beauty of the cities to the weight of the soil. This was the site of the largest mass murder in human history. It is a heavy, silent place. You see the rows of brick barracks, the barbed wire, and the piles of shoes and belongings taken from the people who were brought here. It is heartbreaking, and it is meant to be. It serves as a stark reminder of what happens when hatred goes unchecked. But seeing this place is necessary to truly understand Poland. You realize that the vibrancy of Warsaw, the legends of Krakow, and the resilience of the people didn't just happen by accident. They grew out of this profound darkness. The fact that Poland is so full of life today is a miracle. It's a country that was supposed to be erased, yet here it is, thriving and welcoming the world. The contrast makes the laughter in a Krakow square or the music in the Tatra mountains feel even more precious. You don't come to Poland just for the sights. You come here to feel the energy of a nation that loves life because they know exactly how easily it can be lost. They don't take their freedom for granted, and they celebrate every victory with a passion that is contagious. Poland isn't just a place you visit, it's a place that teaches you about the strength of the human spirit. It's a country that refuses to stay down. Whether you're exploring the high-tech streets of Warsaw, hunting for gnomes in Wrocław, or hiking through the mist in the Tatras, you're walking on ground that has seen the worst of humanity and responded by building something beautiful. It's a place where 1,000 years of history meet a population that is 90% educated and ready for the future. It's the home of the European bison in the ancient Białowieża forest, the last primeval forest in Europe. It's one of the world's biggest producers of blackcurrants and a leader in video game development. It's a country of 15 UNESCO World Heritage Sites and 1 million stories. We return to the Warsaw skyline at night. The lights of the skyscrapers reflect in the Vistula, and the city feels like it's humming with potential. Next time someone tells you Poland is just a cold gray corner of the map, tell them about the salt cathedrals. Tell them about the gnomes. Tell them about the hospitality that treats every stranger like a guest of God. Better yet, tell them to come see for themselves. Because the bricks might be new, but the soul of this place is eternal. It's a masterpiece that's still being painted, and honestly, you need to see the colors for yourself. Poland is waiting, and it's nothing like what you expect, but everything you didn't know you needed. Stay curious, keep exploring, and remember that the most beautiful things are often the ones that had to be rebuilt from scratch. Thanks for being part of this journey with us at AI Clever Spaces. We'll